So a common question, I guess, with these Dauntless guides, and one that needs answering, is why am I not doing the voiceover? Why am I not the one making these guides? Why have I commissioned Frozenballs, who is a Warframe and a Dauntless partnered streamer? Why have I asked him to do them? Simple question, I guess. Long answer short is that I just don't have time right now. I am having, I guess, heart troubles. I'm having tests done on my heart, but I will leave a pinned comment in the top of the comment section of this video that will go into more detail instead of taking up your time from watching this guide. So with that being said, this is Frozenball's guide to the Ostian repeaters in Dauntless.
Have you ever felt like you really just wanted to punish someone or something with two big ass hand cannons? Like really lay into them because they looked at your puppy the wrong way? Well, that's where repeaters come in. The repeaters are your true ranged weapons in Dauntless, despite being extremely effective at super close range. There are mods and playstyles that let you enjoy keeping the behemoth at medium ranges too, but the fall off usually isn't worth going out too far from the behemoths. The repeaters are modular and quite adaptable, and offer different playstyles to players as well. Think of these guns as close range slug shotguns. The repeaters are pretty straightforward in that it's more of an aim and click style weapon instead of having any major combos like the others do. Left click is your basic shots that deal damage to behemoths from range, and it's affected by fall off ranges that are dictated by your crosshair. A red crosshair means you are at the most optimal range to pump out the most amount of damage. Your chamber skill shot is activated with right click, and this is obviously dependent on the type of chamber equipped, but more on that later. Pressing Q throws an object forward a short distance, whether it's a self or team buff or a mine for damage and even tripping behemoths. Pressing R reloads the ammo used by the basic shots, however there is an advanced mechanic called empowered reload. When you reload your repeaters close to a behemoth, it absorbs some of the behemoth's etheric energy, empowering your shots and abilities for a short period. This empowering mechanic is why I say repeaters being ranged weapons still are best used in close range, since this greatly increases your output and damage potential. Since empowering affects your basic shots, your chamber special, and even your deployable, it's always worth it keeping within range to empower your shots. Let's talk about the different components that make up a repeater. The first thing is weapon barrels. There is a barrel available for every damage type in the game. This includes a neutral barrel and all of the different elements in the game, as well as a radiant and umbral damage type. This part is pretty straightforward. Since repeaters are modular, you switch out the barrel for the behemoth that you are fighting. For example, in a Zaga, a shock behemoth is weak to Terra damage type, so you use a Sylvan Terra barrel. Repeaters have two different types of weapon specials. The first is your chamber and the second is your grip. Let's talk about the chambers first. The first chamber is Marksman Chamber. This fires a shot in a line, dealing 250 damage to the first behemoth hit. If you hit a part that hasn't been broken or cut off yet, that part will take 40% more damage from shots from the next 10 seconds. When empowered, this damage bonus increases to 80% to yourself, and also gives your teammates 25% damage bonus versus that particular part. This is especially handy if you're looking at a lot of part breaking to farm for the hunt pass progression, or for crafting in general. Sabo Chamber allows you to fire an explosive missile in a line, dealing 400 damage in an area upon impact. When empowered, this fires 3 missiles instead in a shotgun style spread with even more damage output. This is actually a really good chamber to use as a damage dealing ability. That is, until you unlock the last chamber, which is Full Bore Chamber. The Full Bore Chamber is the latest addition to the game. This chamber fires a piercing bolt in a line that does multiple instances of 100 base damage as it travels through the behemoth. This damage increases to 250 if empowered. This damage also falls off as it travels. When you fire this ability while empowered, it greatly increases the damage as well as pushes the Slayer back and has a 15-second cooldown. If you are coming from Monster Hunter World, think of it as the bow's Dragon Piercer special. With the chambers out of the way, let's talk about the two main grips. There's the Saboteurs Grip that allows you to toss out a mine that arms after a short period. This mine does 400 base damage, and when armed, this damage increases to 700. Armed mines can trip charging behemoths such as Ember and Shrike, to name a few. This damage increases to 900 when charged, and empowered mines can trip behemoths without arming too. The second grip is the Captain's Grip. This grip allows you to throw out a buff that can be picked up by any Slayer, granting them 20% increased attack speed for 15 seconds when collected. The empowered version grants the same buff but to all teammates in a hunt. From a damage output standpoint or a team buffing standpoint, the Captain's Grip is just fantastic to use. Let's talk about weapon mods. Repeaters have access to a bunch of different types of weapon mods. Scope sights increases the damage fall-off range by 25%, allowing a user to stay a bit further away from behemoths. This is for people who really do like to stay at range. Capacitive magazine is the second mod. Whenever you use a grip or chamber ability, it returns 4 ammo to your magazine. Extraction Catalyst reduces both of your ability cooldowns by 2 seconds when you dodge through a behemoth attack. Until you unlock the Lucky Magazine mod, which comes much later on, this is actually a pretty good mod to be using for your repeaters. Precision Sights allows you to deal 8 increased damage when attacking the same part multiple times, and this stacks up to 5 times. This is especially handy for part breaking when combined with the Marksman Grip. The lightweight frame gives you 20% increased move speed when you're at 6 or less ammo in the magazine. Lucky Magazine. This mod grants the Slayer 2% critical strike chance for each round missing from the magazine. This is by far one of the best mods for repeaters. Lucky Magazine has great synergy with full bore or Sabo Chamber as well, since you can stay at 0 ammo and use those chambers for a full 24% crit chance on each hit. Furthermore, this bonus also stacks additively with Cunning as well. With the 24% crit chance from an empty magazine and an additional 15% crit chance from Cunning, when you fire a full bore special shot, it has a 39% chance to hit a behemoth like when you need the toilet after a curry night. The last parts are your weapon prisms. There are 6 different types of prisms. I'll go over them real quick and talk about the 2 main important ones. The Glacial Prism drops 4 ice mines when you evade on a 30-second cooldown. When you use the Snowdrift Prism, the last 4 shots in your magazine generate a Frostbite that causes your next attack to deal 50 bonus damage and minor frost damage. You can have a maximum of 4 sprites. When using the Stoneheart Prism, dealing damage has a chance to stack a refreshing 40 HP shield that lasts for 12 seconds. This chance is also dependent on the damage dealt. The Brilliant Prism, once charged, will result in your next attack dealing 550 bonus radiant damage. This charge rate increases with your current HP. Let's talk about the Eclipse Prism. Dealing damage has a chance to generate a Shadow Orb that increases damage dealt by 2.5% for 5 seconds. If 5 or more orbs are present, this damage bonus doubles. The chance for orbs to spawn are based on how much damage you deal. Let's talk about the last one, the Searing Prism. The Searing Prism states that the 10th hit in quick succession deals 250 bonus damage and major blaze damage. This particular prism is by far one of the best ones to be using for repeaters. If you're fighting a blaze behemoth, you can always switch out to an Eclipse Prism, but more often than not, you will find yourself using the Searing Prism just because of the damage output that it has. Honestly, repeaters are pretty straightforward point and shoot style weapons with a pretty low skill ceiling, allowing for all types of players to utilize them and flourish. The biggest thing to remember is that if you wish to pump out those big damage numbers, always perform empowered reloads. Empowered shots literally are double damage, so there's no reason not to. The benefits outweigh the risks of being close to a behemoth heavily. When it comes to using your repeater special, especially if you're making use of Lucky Magazine and Cunning, always try and fire the special with an empty magazine. This ensures the highest potential damage output of your repeaters, since you have a whopping 39% chance of your shots to crit. Remember, you cannot run with the repeaters out, so if a behemoth does go too far away from you, where a single or double roll is not enough to close that gap, consider putting those guns away to run closer to the behemoth so you can continue to apply that damage. You move very slowly with your guns out. That's it for this video. How are you guys enjoying the repeaters? Have you had a chance to use them yet? What are your thoughts? Leave a message in the comments below and I'll see you guys in the next one.